On this week's episode, football battles the Kentucky Wildcats in Lexington. Men's soccer takes on Florida International. And women's volleyball hosts Florida and Ole Miss. This is Capital City Sports. Hello and welcome to Capital City Sports. I'm Pat Cloney. After an undefeated homestand, Gamecock football traveled to Lexington to take on the Kentucky Wildcats on Saturday night. Hunter Banks was there. Let's send it to him.
Gamecocks coming into the game against Kentucky, Commonwealth Stadium, 4-0, looking to go 5-0. And here, Byron Jarrett is going to take down quarterback Max Smith. And if you look, that is not a pretty sight. He'd leave the game, and here, Connor Shaw, not quite there. D.L. Moore drops it, and the Kentucky defense comes up with a goal line stand, turnover on downs at the goal line, literally the 1-inch yard line. And here, Raymond Sanders is going to take it up the middle for the Wildcats. He had a pretty good game early on in the first half. And cap it off, Kentucky with a field goal going up early, 3-0. But the Gamecocks respond as Connor Shaw finds some space and finds Busta Anderson for the long gain down inside the 10-yard line. And then Shaw's going to roll out and find Ace Sanders. That puts the Gamecocks up 7-3, but Kentucky responds. Yeah, quarterback's just going to take it in. Whitlow takes it in himself. Wildcats up 10-7 here, and then bam! Getting some height, the Wildcats get in, block the punt, first blocked punt for the Gamecocks this year. And that's going to set up this Raymond Sanders 10-yard touchdown, putting UK up 17-7. Gamecock fans not happy about it. Definitely not happy after this. Near the end of the first half, botched snap. Kentucky recovers. Luckily for the Gamecocks, they couldn't do anything from there going to the half. Up 17-7, but the Gamecocks come out of halftime rolling as Shaw hits Demir Bird for 30 yards, touchdown. And then here, Kenny Miles is going to add to that with a 17-yard touchdown of his own. With those two scores, Gamecocks are now up 21-17. Marcus Lattimore is going to break free for 21 yards. Number 21 going for 21, and then he's going to punch it in from there, 3 yards out. Gamecocks up at this point 28-17, and they would end up winning 38-17. Hunter Banks, Capital City Sports.
After a slow start, Carolina's offense exploded for 31 second-half points. To see exactly how they did this, we send it to Josh and Alyssa in the boardroom.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Capital City Sports. My name is Alyssa Lang. Joining me is Joshua Huffines. We're going to start by breaking down this past weekend's game versus the Kentucky Wildcats in Lexington, Kentucky at Commonwealth Stadium. We will start by going over the Gamecocks offense. Not very productive in the first half. They were only allowed one score by the Wildcats, that one score coming from none other than Ace Sanders. Now, talk about how important that touchdown was, what it was like, and was it crucial? It was the only score the Gamecocks had.
You know, honestly, some people look at the end score and they believe that that first touchdown didn't mean anything. I believe it meant a lot. Going into halftime, trailing behind the Wildcats when you are supposed to be a heavy favorite, only making it a 10-point lead, which is 2 possessions, That is very important. So I believe that allowed for Spurrier to build on that and for the team to build a win for themselves.
Yeah, well, one thing that was very interesting to look at was the use of the I formation by the Gamecocks. They only used it a handful of times in the first half, but then looking at the second half, they were using it almost every play. Talk about what kind of difference that made for the Gamecocks, and I mean, it must have been a good thing because look at the second half versus the first half.
Absolutely. You know, when you're coming from Spurrier, he's got this team. It's not producing offensively, so he goes to the good old power I formation that I know and love.
Give it to Marcus, right?
Oh, yeah, give it to Marcus, give it to Kenny Miles. We've got some great running backs, and they all performed fantastic. We came out, we got yards, we got points. It was a good call by Spurrier, and that got us the win,
Right.
definitely.
Now, speaking of those two running backs, Marcus Lattimore and Kenny Miles, they fought hard for every yard they got, especially Marcus in the first half. He was not being very productive, not his usual self. And then it was interesting to see him being plugged in a couple times on a drive, not doing too much, and then Kenny Miles coming in on his first drive as running back for the Gamecocks, walked the ball right into the end zone, which was nice to see, especially for him. Talk about what that was like, what kind of production the running backs
Well,
gave
I
us.
feel being on the team, running backs, there might be a lot of competition between themselves, but
Right.
as long as the team wins, that's most important.
Mhm.
I mean, Marcus might have started off slow. Kenny Miles comes in, gets some points. Either way, that lifts the offense spirits up, brings in that X factor,
Right.
and next thing you know, you've got everyone's bringing points, yards to every player that
Now,
gets it.
does their hair make a difference in the way they
Absolutely. Their
play?
hair
Because
makes a
I know you were
difference.
talking
I
about
just want to point
that.
out that dreads are amazing with football players.
Obviously, for us at least.
I mean, I feel that's very important. You should that one picture of Justice Cunningham after that hit, and his hair was flying everywhere. It's perfect.
Dreads are the way to go, obviously.
Dreads
right?
are the way to go.
Now, one other play that we think was kind of a crucial turning point for the Gamecocks was Demir Bird's touchdown reception in the second half. That was a pretty big play. Why was it big? And talk about that play.
Well, the thing is this started to set up the passing offense. You have a deep ball, 30-yard pass from Connor Shaw to Demir Bird. I cannot tell you how much I love to see a deep ball from Connor Shaw to our fastest wide receiver. That is always going to end in a touchdown.
Well, that will do it for us talking about Gamecock offense. Join us after the break where we will break down Gamecock defense.
After the break, we head back to the boardroom to break down USC's defense. And men's soccer squares off against Florida International. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. The Gamecock defense held Kentucky scoreless after the half this weekend in Lexington. For a closer look at this stellar performance, we send it back to
Josh
and Alyssa in the boardroom.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Capital City Sports. We are back in the boardroom and now we are breaking down Gamecock defense versus Kentucky this past weekend in Lexington. Let's start by asking Josh what his opinions are about the overall defense. Josh, if you had to fill out a report card for the Gamecock defense and hand it to them after the first half, what would you give them?
After the first half, it'd probably be a C. They only allowed 17 points, which, I mean, is a lot. But when you think about it, Kentucky was playing really well.
They were.
Luck was on Kentucky's side between tip balls, and I mean, it was really different. I mean, I feel they did all right. The biggest thing is the second half, they made up for it. And so overall for the entire game, I'm still going to give them a solid B.
Solid B.
A solid B.
Are you looking for them to get a little better next week, hopefully,
Georgia?
Georgia?
Against Georgia, they're definitely going to have to bring their A game.
I would say the same thing. Now, two things that were on more positive notes for the Gamecock defense were two interceptions, one by Gerald Dixon Jr., one by Devontae Holloman. Talk about what that kind of did for the atmosphere of the team, and which one did you like better?
I mean, honestly, I can't pick.
A pick is a pick.
A pick is a pick. I can't pick a pick. You know, honestly, when you're talking about pick, it's better for the defense to bring out that offense. run down the clock. It solidified the win.
Right.
It was able to stop 2 Kentucky drives for a possible comeback. You never know. I mean, either way, looking at it strategically wise, I mean, a pick is good.
Right.
I'll take it anytime.
Definitely. Now,
It works.
those 2 picks definitely kind of helped boost the morale of the Gamecocks team. But one thing that I personally kind of thought would have demolished or at least belittled Kentucky's morale a little bit in the first half was Byron Jerido's hit on Maxwell Smith, the quarterback for Kentucky, was just it was a heck
nasty.
of a hit.
That was just dirty.
Talk about that.
I mean, I gotta say, when I saw that, I could feel the pain.
I thought
through
that
the
was an
television.
ACL
that was
tear.
Unbelievable. I mean, to think that he only broke a bone and didn't tear something is good to hear.
Yeah,
as far as
definitely.
that. But I mean, honestly, when you're talking about this, here comes a Kentucky team facing number 6 ranked South Carolina at home. And in the first quarter, their starting quarterback goes down
Right.
and is obviously not going to be playing anytime soon. And they bring in their 3rd string true freshman quarterback, and he was phenomenal in that first
He
half.
really was.
He brought a dual threat that the Gamecocks weren't exactly ready to face.
Yeah. Now, it was definitely great that the Gamecocks were eventually able to counter that, but they definitely were taken off guard in the first half. Is there anything else you would like to add for defense? Any more dreadheads you would like to reference?
First off, I'm going to say Defensive Dreadcock of the Week is going to go
New
to
segment here.
Victor Hampton.
And why is that?
I like the hair. Honestly,
just the
when
hair?
you see him working in the backfield and the flow of that dreads, it's menacing.
The flow of the dreads.
It is beautiful. It is true football.
South Carolina football. Well, that will do it for us talking about the Gamecock defense. Join us after the break. We will be previewing and breaking down this weekend's matchup against Georgia Bulldogs here in Columbia at Williams-Brice Stadium.
Men's soccer was at Stone Stadium on Saturday night. They took on Florida International. For a closer look at this game, we send it to Jeremy Urso for his first ever CCS highlight.
This past Saturday, the 5-5-1 South Carolina Gamecocks played at home against the 6-1-1 Florida International Panthers. The Gamecocks are seeking a win after their 2-1 loss to SMU. Let's get to the action. Florida International had multiple opportunities to score during the first half, but the Gamecocks' defense was just too good. They allowed 0 goals and only 1 shot during the first 45 minutes. The Gamecocks have an opportunity to score early with a corner kick, but they just can't convert. Using teamwork to get into their opponent's territory, the Gamecocks have another chance to score. But the goalkeeper of Florida International prevents that from happening. If at first you don't succeed, try again, and try they do as South Carolina's Hunter Wire scores off the corner kick in the second half. That is his first goal at Carolina. The Gamecocks trying to hold off the Panthers' offense. Can they do it? Unfortunately not, as Quentin Albrecht headbutts the ball into the net during the final minutes of regulation. The game would go into a 10-minute double overtime period. No team was able to score and ended in a tie. Next, the Gamecocks play UCF at home on October 7th, which promises to be an exciting matchup. Jeremy Urso, Capital City Sports.
Coming up, Hunter and Alyssa preview a huge matchup against Georgia. And women's volleyball plays host to Florida and Ole Miss. We'll be right back. Carolina football is preparing for a huge matchup against the Georgia Bulldogs coming up this Saturday at Williams-Brice Stadium. The College Game Day crew will give their predictions on the horseshoe, but what do our own analysts think? We sent it to
Josh
and Alyssa one last time in the boardroom to find out.
My name is Alyssa. This is Josh. We are going to start breaking down this weekend's game against the University of Georgia Bulldogs, who are coming into Columbia to Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturday to take on the Gamecocks. Number 5 versus number 6. College game day is going to be here. It's about to be huge.
It is going to be a big deal.
So let's take a look at key players for the Gamecocks offense. Josh, in your opinion, what member of the Gamecock offense needs to step up and have the game of their life in order for the Gamecocks to win?
Well, here's who I want to have the game of their life. Marcus Lattimore. I want to put him back in the Heisman candidacy race. And
He's not really there right
he's
now.
not, currently ESPN is ignoring him. I want to put him right up near Geno Smith.
Ooh,
Oh,
steep.
yes, steep. That's a challenge, Marcus Lattimore.
Now, Marcus, one of our very talented running backs, but we also have a couple pretty good ones coming off the bench. I've kind of noticed that when we run the 2 running back system, it produces results. What do you think the running backs should be doing? What kind of plays should be called for them to be successful and get these yards?
Honestly, I want to see Marcus Lattimore. I want to see the line working real well to get Marcus Lattimore up through the middle. He does really well if he gets a breakaway play. I want to see Kenny Miles go to the out some more. I want to see some receptions for both Kenny Miles and Marcus Lattimore. I feel that will bring yards and points to the Gamecocks.
Definitely. Now, to another position where you see some battle of playtime is at wide receiver. We've seen D.L. Moore and Demir Bird. In your opinion, who should be starting at that position? Who do you want to see in the number 1 spot to go catch those deep balls from Connor Shaw?
Honestly, I really love the combination of Demir Bird and Connor Shaw. I think Connor Shaw can throw a really good deep ball if it's presented to him. And I believe that Demir Bird has the speed to get out there to get a touchdown pass from Connor Shaw.
He's very fast, for sure.
He is extremely fast.
Now, let's kind of turn the tables and take a look at Georgia's offense. Quarterback Aaron Murray for Georgia. Talk about him. He's a good player.
Aaron Murray definitely has a fantastic passing game right now. But the thing is I think a lot of that comes from his receivers. And if you saw recently, Bennett, his top receiver, is out with a pretty severe injury. I believe an ACL tear.
Done for the season.
Yeah, so, he's still got some really good receivers to back him up, but at the same time, he'll probably see a severe hit in his passing game against one of the best defenses in the nation.
Now, something that will probably help Aaron Murray make up for that is his 2 running backs, Gurley and Marshall. They've been putting up some pretty decent numbers, haven't they?
Gurley is leading the SEC in rushing yards, and he has 7.9 yards per carry compared to Marcus Lattimore's 4.8 yards per carry.
That's impressive.
It is very impressive. But
Now,
honestly, I think the Gamecocks will be prepared to defend against them if the defensive coordinators can work around them.
Gamecock fans could only hope that they would be prepared because this offense is definitely a double threat. It doesn't get much more double threat than this.
The passing game and the running game from Georgia are both very dangerous, but I don't believe that Georgia has faced a defense as good as ours.
Now, speaking of the Gamecocks defense, what exactly are they going to do in order to counter this double threat, shut down Aaron Murray, shut down Gurley and Marshall? What are you looking for Coach Ward and his defense to do?
This is not UAB, this is not ECU, and it is not Kentucky. We are going to have to play fantastic. They're going to have to bring their A game. Depending on I don't know exactly what he wants to do as far as setting up the defense.
Right.
As long as we can get the line to get a good pass rush going and we can defend against the run, I think we'll be all right. The biggest thing that I'm going to be worried about is the deep ball, because I believe Aaron Murray definitely can throw one, and I'm not sure our secondary is going to be quite good enough to stop all of those breakout plays from Aaron Murray's receivers.
Yeah, I'm definitely personally hoping to see our defense using the rabbit package, which I know they like to run a lot, which is the 4 DBs up and just blitzing the quarterback. I think that's going to be really effective against Aaron Murray. But keeping us going on defense here, what specific defensive players for South Carolina do you think need to have a big game to stop the Bulldogs?
Honestly, I'm really hoping that Jadeveon Clowney can really get in there and put a couple sacks against Aaron Murray. Because that'll get him scared. That'll get him looking over that left shoulder. that'll throw him off his game.
Yeah,
a pretty
definitely.
good bit.
Now, DJ Swearinger is someone else who was kind of quiet last week against Kentucky. Are you looking for a big game out of him? Is he
I'm
hyped
hoping
to go
he'll
hit
land
some
big
people?
hits, but I understand once the SEC says that evidently this isn't contact football anymore, you can
Oh,
be
boy.
afraid to make a couple big hits. But I think he'll have a pretty good game. The biggest thing I'm looking for is the INT, interceptions.
Yes.
I love them. I do. So
They're gonna be
hopefully
big.
DJ can get a couple interceptions, Victor Hampton in there. We'll see what'll happen.
That would definitely be nice to see. Now switching tracks again, the Georgia defense. They do have one player who's kind of their star on defense, Jarvis Jones. Talk a little bit about him.
Well, honestly, I think he's a good player. He likes the internet. I'm gonna say what is it, Instagram? You think he's on Instagram a little bit?
He might be on Instagram.
Do tell. Have you ever had any encounters with Jarvis Jones over the internet?
You know, I might have, might not have. I'm not at liberty to say.
Stalker. Anyways.
He liked one of my Instagram pictures, and maybe he commented on one, but it was unprovoked. I don't even know how he found me.
But hey, it doesn't matter. Jarvis Jones, meet Marcus Lattimore. That's all I have to say.
Well, that's definitely going to be interesting. Now, getting into the more fun part, in my opinion, of this last segment is the predictions. Josh, Georgia, South Carolina, 5 versus 6, college game day. Who's going to get the win, and give me a score here? What's the final score going to be?
If I have to pick completely objectively, I believe that Georgia will lose.
Really?
Because frankly, I believe in an X factor. I believe in morale. Williams-Brice is going to be loud. We are going to be riled up. Our defense is going to be playing hot. Marcus Lattimore, Connor Shaw, they are going to be both playing out of their minds. I believe we will pull home a win, and I well and truly believe that we will beat Georgia by at least 14 points.
Can I get a specific score so we can turn and look back next week?
Okay, you're going to put me on the spot here.
Of course.
All right, I'm going to say 21-35.
All right. Well, in my opinion, I also think that the atmosphere is, of course, going to be a huge contributor at the 12th man, of course, at Williams-Brice. And I think that it was a great thing that the Gamecocks went to Kentucky and were scared going into the second half. I mean, they were losing to a bad Kentucky team, and they shouldn't have been losing. I think that was good for their attitude. They kind of came back into this week. They've been working very hard. Hopefully their attitude is in the right place to get ready to face this Georgia team. South Carolina obviously is ranked 6th, Georgia's 5th, so they're kind of already the underdogs. I think it's going into overtime. I'm going to say that they're going to be tied going into the end of the game. It's going to go into overtime, and I think the Gamecocks are going to win it with a field goal. I'm going to go 33-30 as my final score.
That will
prediction.
be some really good football.
Some heart attack football.
Good football. Absolutely.
Now, before we wrap it up, did you have a message for one of the members of the College Game Day crew for us?
Absolutely.
What is that?
Lee Corso. I think you know who you want to pick. Pick right.
Choose wisely. You heard it here first. Well, that will do it for this week's episode of Capital City Sports. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you join us next week, where we will be breaking down this weekend's game against Georgia and looking ahead to the Gamecocks traveling to LSU.
Women's volleyball was at home on Friday night. They took on a tough Florida team. Jarrett McDarris was there. He has your highlight.
Friday night at the volleyball competition facility, Scott Swanson and the South Carolina Gamecocks played host to number 12, Florida. We'll pick it up late in game number 3. South Carolina's down 2-0 as Crafts gives it to Taylor Bruns, and Kara Howley takes in for the kill, 5-4 South Carolina. A little bit later, Bethany Thomas with the serve, and Kara Howley right here with the kill from Taylor Bruns. It's 10-5 South Carolina. Bethany Thomas on the serve as to Florida. Gabby Malinat here with the attempt to kill, but it's blocked by Bruns and Halley. 11-5 South Carolina. Move ahead late in game number 3. Allen right there with the side out kill. South Carolina goes up 22-19. Move ahead a little bit. Kraft serves it to Florida. Jenna Allen with the important dig to save the match for South Carolina. Zivarezic with the kill, but it's blocked by Howley. And South Carolina goes on to win Game 3, 25-21. It's 2-1 South Carolina. Game 4, all Florida so far. Simone Antwi with the kill. Holly Pohl serves to South Carolina late in Game 4, but Zivarezic is there with the kill. South Carolina does have 1 point left in them as Holly Pohl serves it to South Carolina. Bethany Thomas to Jenna Allen with the side-out kill, and that's all South Carolina had in them. As the number 12 Florida Gators would go on to defeat the South Carolina Gamecocks 3-1. After the game, Coach Swanson talked about the improvements his team would need to make to be successful in the remainder of SEC play.
I have confidence that as we continue on through the year, our passing is going to get better. We're going to get used to that pace, and we're going to have to, because this league is just really tough. But we also didn't serve very accurate. We missed a lot of serves because we were taking chances. We're trying to get them out of system, and usually we're a much better serving, lower air team than that. And so serving and passing has to get better.
I'm Jeremy Darris, Capital City Sports.
The volleyball team was home again on Sunday afternoon to take on Ole Miss. We send it to Allison Parrish to see how they did.
This past Sunday, the Gamecock volleyball team took on Ole Miss at home. With a 3-game losing streak against SEC rivals, the Gamecocks were hopeful to reverse this streak and come out with a win. The ladies started off the match by winning the first point. Later in the set, number 11, Kara Halley spikes the ball, attempting to tie up the score before the first timeout. The Gamecocks were trailing by 6 at the timeout with a score of 6-12 as Ole Miss dominates the set. They attempt to make a comeback at the end of the set with a kill by number 12, Julianne, but the Gamecocks weren't able to recover and lost the first set 19-25. In the second set, the Gamecocks start out strong against Ole Miss with early points from number 10, Christina Vereb, and number 4, Darian Dozier. Ole Miss came back to keep control of their lead in the second half of the set. The Gamecocks tried to regain the lead with another kill from Christina Vereb. It wasn't enough as Ole Miss wins another set point, making the score 18-25, sending the Gamecocks to the locker room trailing 2-0 for the match. At the start of the third set, Ole Miss comes in fired up, taking a 10-point lead. The Gamecocks turn this around with number 13, Jenna Allen, making the kill. The Gamecocks come back when Allen makes the kill to bring the score within a point to make it 22-24. Unfortunately, the Gamecocks were unable to finish the set strong, allowing Ole Miss to score the set point, winning the match 3-0. The Gamecocks take on Texas A&M Friday. This is Allison Parrish for Capital City Sports.
That's all the time we have for this week. Thanks for watching. If you want to take a look at more of our footage, you can go online to sgtv.sc.edu. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at CCS on SGTV and like us on Facebook. Just search Capital City Sports. For all of us here at CCS, I'm Pat Cloney. Are you ready for College Game Day?